Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 5 of Paris-Nice 2025. Today's race was seven category climb, and at over 200 kilometers long, it's a monster stage. I'll call it 125 miles in length. When the cameras come on, it's an interesting scenario. Only 2 riders are up the road. That's Gruel from FDJ, and the next rider is Ben Swift from Ineos. We go back and look at the Peloton, it's curb to curb. We see Visma bike with 4 guys on the right side, and Jorgensen's one of them. We go to the back of the Peloton, we find Jonas Vingegaard. What's he doing at the back? Well, the commentators tell us that Jonas Vingegaard crashed earlier in the stage. He's back there with my man Victor Campenaerts at the back of the Peloton right now. We got about 55 kilometers to go. The 2 riders in front got about a minute and 30-second gap on the Peloton going full gas curb to curb. We come into the last of the 5 category climbs. Each one of these climbs are about 1 to 1.5 kilometers long. The last climb is 1.7 kilometers long at 10.5% average with 15% sections. So you know there's going to be a big time battle between the GC guys on this last and final climb of today's stage 5. But right now we got 5 climbs to go, and we see Jorgensen's at the front of the group, but Jonas Vingegaard's at the back when this climb starts. Now he's going to be at the back for most of this stage, but right now he's certainly at the back when we're going up with 5 climbs to go. We go over the top, we come down the bottom, we still got 2 riders up front when they start the 4th to go climb. With this 4th climb starting, with those 2 riders holding a gap of about 40 seconds, we see the attack from the Peloton, and that's Tobias Foss from Ineos going up the road. Same MO like we saw in yesterday's stage 4 with Tobias Foss wanting to bridge up to his teammate Ben Swift. He bridges up quickly. Then we see 3 riders attacking over the top of this climb as we see Michael Matthews and 2 companions trying to get across. They can't make it as they get brought back in. We come into the 3rd to go climb, and we see Tobias Foss throwing down on the pedals, and now he's starting to go for solo victory here on stage 5. Can he hold the Peloton off? I don't know about that, because the Peloton's looking interesting back there as they're going full gas, and AG2R is getting interested back there. As they're pulling on the front, and it's still kind of curb to curb, Jorgensen's up here, but starting to get a little more isolated, and Jonas Vingegaard's still at the back. We come into 2 climbs to go. This is when things are getting really nervous with about 18 kilometers to go. In the Peloton back there, we start to see it starts to narrow up, and Two-Door Cycling's throwing down with some efforts on the front with Matteo Trentin and with Julian Alaphilippe. That group doesn't really go anywhere, but Jorgensen's still at the front, and Jonas Vingegaard's still basically at the back to the middle of the Peloton here, but he's suffering for sure. Something's got to be wrong. From the crash he had earlier, I don't know, but right now he's certainly not in a good position. We get about halfway up this climb, we come into the right turn, we see Tobias Foss make this turn, so you know it's going to be narrow for the Peloton behind. Kevin Genietz from FDJ is throwing in his attack, and now the Peloton's starting to blow up, but Jonas Vingegaard's made some progress through the Peloton now and starting to get into the upper half of the Peloton. As he's getting into the upper half and they're going up over the top of this penultimate climb, you know it's fast and furious because we see Vlasov coming off the back from Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. As he's coming off the back, we see it's about a 70-rider field up at the front there, and we're coming into the sprint point competition. Now, this sprint point has time bonuses, and that's why we see Tobias Foss get maximum time because he's solo up front, but there's a battle in the back with the GC favorites, and Mads Pedersen from Lidl Trek took my advice from stage 2 and started sprinting Jorgensen so that Jorgensen couldn't get some extra time bonuses. With Mads Pedersen getting 2nd and with Lipovets from Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe getting 3rd, that means back there that Jorgensen doesn't get any more time bonuses. Now, the Peloton still keeps going fast, and we're coming into 10 kilometers to go, so coming down this descent, we're going to find Foss up front. Foss goes through this left turn descent here as he's coming onto the main road. There's an island in the middle. Now, I'm wondering what's going to happen to the Peloton because they're coming full gas. As they come through this left turn, the Peloton goes left inside and left outside of that island, and they split and they come around. But guess what? The Peloton's going to get split in half with about 40 guys in this front split, and Jonas Vingegaard just barely makes the front split as he's back there with Visma bike at the tail end, but Jorgensen's still at the front. We start looking at the group that missed the split back there. It's Felix Gall, AG2R. That's on the front with Callum Scotson pulling full gas for Felix Gall. Callum Scotson's doing everything he can to try to close up to the back end of this group of 40 up front that's still chasing Foss. As Callum Scotson starts to close, we're still looking at Visma bike with about 9 to 8 kilometers to go. My man Victor Campenaerts and Zingle went back and got Jonas Vingegaard. Now they're taking him to the front as that second group still chasing full gas. We'll see Victor Campenaerts and Zingle get on the front with Jorgensen and with Jonas Vingegaard with about 7 kilometers, 6.5 kilometers to go. Then Victor Campenaerts starts hurting at 6.2. As he's hurting, that second group back there closes up to bring the Peloton all together with 60, 70 riders. Now we're coming into 4 kilometers to go, and we see the first rider, Voss, get pulled back, so everything's up for grabs on stage 5. Stage victory and GC time bonuses, of course, are all available at the end of the stage here if you can make it up over the 1.7 kilometer climb at 10.8% average. Okay, things get interesting again as we come into 3 kilometers to go because there's a roundabout. We start looking at Jonas Vingegaard. He's at the back of the group, but he makes it through with the front group of the Peloton here, but there's a split in the back, and AG2R, Felix Gauls, missed it again. We start looking at the front of the group, though. Mads Pedersen's drilling it like crazy because we're coming up to 1.7 kilometers to go. If I back the film up a little bit, Mads Pedersen's teammate Skilmos was locked onto his wheel perfectly from the moment Mads started pulling big time. But now we're coming into 1.7 kilometers to go, the last and final left corner. As he pulls off, he looks right over his shoulder and realizes he doesn't see Skilmos. Looks further right down the right shoulder there and then sees Skilmos way at the back. What happened? Let's back the film up just a little bit before this last left corner here started, and we'll see when they came out of that roundabout, it went wide, and all the GC guys were fighting for position for this crucial last left turn. Skilmos lost the wheel of his teammate Mads Pedersen, and Mads Pedersen didn't know it. But he knows it now as he's looking down his right shoulder and sees Skilmos is way at the back, and so's Jonas Vingegaard. But Jorgensen isn't at the back. He's up front. Josh Tarling now from Ineos is drilling it. He's got a couple teammates with Magnus Sheffield and with our Ensman near the front of the Peloton, so Josh Tarling's throwing everything into it. Then he blows as the road starts to bend to the left. He moves to the right and gets out of the way. It's time for Zingle to go on the front. Now, this is their sprinter. Axel Zingle's on the front right now for Jorgensen. But Jonas Vingegaard's at the back of the Peloton. I don't know if I like this move. I'll have to discuss it with you after the race. But right now, Zingle's going 100%. Jorgensen's locked in the second. They start going up the steep part of the climb here as it starts proper there at 1.7 kilometers ago. Now we're going a little bit deeper. We're 1.2 kilometers into it. And Zingle's on the front. And Jonas Vingegaard and Skilmos are at the back. Almeida's finding his way to the front with about 1.2, 1.1 kilometers to go. And we're going to see that it's McNulty up front there that looks back and he sees that Almeida's on the front. So he takes over as Zingle's blew just a little bit before that. We see it's McNulty on the front driving at full gas because Almeida's their GC hopeful here. This is 100% all in for Almeida. But is this the climb for Almeida? Let's find out. McNulty goes full gas, everything on the pedals. Almeida slots in. He's in good position. But we go up to about 780, 800 meters to go. We're going to see that McNulty looks back over his shoulder and he can't find Almeida. Well, we see from the pictures that Almeida's starting to suffer, and we see Skilmos and Jonas Vingegaard at the very back really suffering. Well, McNulty cops off the front, and then we're going to start seeing Jorgensen start going to work. As Jorgensen's going to the work, the Americans are all over the front. At one point in time when McNulty was pulling, it was him, it was Jorgensen, and Magnus Sheffield up there from Ineos. 3 Americans on the front driving on stage 5. Now it's Jorgensen throwing down. Again, I don't know if I like this move because why? Jonas Vingegaard, the race leader's yellow jersey, is getting dropped right now, and all the GC favorites are sitting Jorgensen's wheel. We're talking about under 700 meters to go. With Jorgensen drilling at full gas, now Almeida closes up to the back wheel of the group here of 9 riders. We're going to call it 10 riders in front. We got McNulty up there. Julian Alaphilippe's in this group. Lenny Martinez is in this group. 2 riders from Astana in this group. That's Tejada in there and Clement Championson. And Lipovitz is in this group. Now, as Jorgensen's throwing everything in the pedals, Julian Alaphilippe starts to blow. Just before he did, Lipovitz started coming around the right side of Julian Alaphilippe, but guess who didn't? Almeida didn't. So now with Julian Alaphilippe opening up the gap, Almeida's got to struggle to close it. He's back there doing everything he can to close it, but can't quite. Now we're coming into 250 meters to go, and Jorgensen's drilling it, and we see Magnus Sheffield, the second American sitting in second spot, blows on the wheel of the American Jorgensen. As Jorgensen's got a gap to the favorites, we start seeing Tejada closing the gap over Magnus Sheffield. He's got some company on his wheel. Lenny Martinez from Bahrain Victorious is there, and they're coming up to about 175 meters to go as they're closing up the gap there at 150. As they're starting to close, we're going to see Tejada throw in an acceleration, and as he's throwing in acceleration, the road does a tight right turn, kind of a bend there, and of course the American Jorgensen closes off the gap. That shuts down the speed from Tejada. He can't attack, and as he can't attack, his teammate Clement Champuisson is closing up the gap to the back wheeler, put 4 riders in the front. They come out of this right bend. Jorgensen's still on the front, but Lenny Martinez is starting his attack on the left side from Bahrain Victorious. He throws in his acceleration at 100 meters to go. Jorgensen doesn't have it in the legs. Lenny Martinez starts getting the gap, looks over his shoulder, sees the gap, and then his head goes down. He goes for a big effort. As he's going for a big effort, Clement Champuisson's passing his teammate Tejada and coming up to the right side there of Jorgensen. Now we look up front, and of course, the race leader, Lenny Martinez, he knows he's got a stage 5 victory here at Paris-Nice, his first big victory in Europe, so he sits up, starts to celebrate with a roar coming out and the arms up in the air as he's crossing the line to win the stage. Clement Champuisson passes on the inside, or the right side if you want to call it that, as the road got super steep. He passes Jorgensen to get second on the stage. Matteo Jorgensen rounds out the podium here on stage 5. Tejada gets 4th on the stage, and Jorgensen will get the race leader's yellow jersey because Jonas Vingegaard will finish 26 seconds down on the time of the first rider here of Lenny Martinez, and Jorgensen finishes 3 seconds back of the time of Lenny Martinez. So of course he's in the race leader's yellow jersey, and when it's all said and done, the yellow jersey switched hands at Visma bike, but Jonas Vingegaard is only 22 seconds back at the time of Jorgensen, so they're still sitting first and second. Now, with a little bit more insight after the interview from Matteo Jorgensen about the discussion he had with Jonas Vingegaard after he crashed with 85 kilometers to go in today's stage, well, Jonas Vingegaard came up to Jorgensen and said he thought his hand could be broken, so he was going to stay at the back of the peloton, and gave the green light to Jorgensen to race the stage at the finish to try to win the stage. Now, I loved putting Zingle on the front and drilling it 100% for Jorgensen for sure. Did I like Jorgensen's move on the front? Well, if you want to win the stage, going on the front with about 700 meters to go is a little bit of a tall order there, and Lenny Martinez certainly had the legs to come around and win the stage, so we know that was a mistake. But when you know that Visma bike's Jonas Vingegaard might have a broken hand, and you're drilling it, and you know that Almeida's been gapped off, you know that Skilmos, who started today's race, 3rd on the GC at just over 30 seconds back, I want to call it 33, 35 seconds back in 3rd place on today's stage, Jorgensen had no risk going full gas at 700 meters, so I love the tactics. Zingle, great job. You're a sprinter. I don't know how you're still there at the finish of the last climb here, near the finish of the last climb here on today's stage 5, but you did a fantastic job. Jorgensen, I love the tactic when it's all said and done. Didn't like it live because, of course, I didn't know the conversation between you and Jonas Vingegaard. But afterwards, when you know his hand could be broken, and we see the video of how sore his hand was when he was taking his glove off, I'll put it for you here right now as I'm talking over it. You know Jonas Vingegaard at this moment, hand looks pretty bad. Whether or not if he can start tomorrow's stage, when I shot this video, I didn't have the information for you guys there. But Jorgensen, the American, is back in the race leader's splendid yellow jersey, and Jonas Vingegaard sitting second. 3rd is Lipovitz at 36 seconds. So when it's all said and done, congratulations, Jorgensen, for getting that yellow jersey back, and good luck for the future stages. Like and subscribe, guys. This race is not over. Everybody looks to be pretty even on power here when we're looking at the GC favorites. Jonas Vingegaard, whether or not if he can start tomorrow, we don't know. And Visma bike don't have the climbing talent around them in the big mountain stages. So it's going to be a showdown, tack fest, and tactical rider. Whoever comes out with the best tactics will probably win Paris-Nice. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next edition real soon.